Hello friends and welcome. Monkey King position 4 is popping off at TI10. He's an incredibly fun hero, so I'm going to show you how you can play Monkey King support in your pubs as a completely legitimate support. But if you've ever felt like you need to carry your games even though you're playing support, Monkey King is literally a carry being played as a support, so he's got that scaling potential you might need to carry your pub games into a win. So let me walk you through what you're supposed to do in the laning stage, and after that, and some of your items and things you'll need to be able to play Monkey King without getting reported by your teammates. At the very start of the game, I recommend you transform into your courier like Hanskin's doing here and have your courier move out of the base with you, depending where you're going. The reason for this is that when you transform into your courier, your move speed is set to 380. This means you're one of the fastest heroes in the game, assuming no one started with boots and is a fast hero, and because of that, you can get out and ward really quickly before anyone else gets out on the map. And the reason you have your courier follow you is so that you can then transform into your courier again after placing the ward, and then you can send your courier home. And now you're just this fast hero who can wander around and scout out a little bit. Now, starting items, everyone is going tangos and an orb of venom, unless it's a really good magic stick game, in which case they bought an orb of venom later, but otherwise everyone is starting like this. And for the rest of your gold, many people are opting for a lot of iron branches, maybe a fairy fire. Some people are going a salve, fairy fire, salve, branch, a sentry if needed, those kind of starting items. But the tango and the oov, that's pretty much standard. Now you'll notice here, even though he's a support, he's able to zone out the Mars as a melee offlaner. And that's pretty much what you're going to do in the laning stage as well. You're going to play like an Ogre Magi in ideal lanes for Monkey King, where you just focus on zoning them with constant right clicks, because your Jingu Mastery pretty much lets you win all these trades. Even if you take some damage initially, you're going to then lifesteal once you get 4 hits. If you can't get 4 hits, you want to be a little careful, because those trades aren't as great for you. Even though your stats are really good, but you don't have as good regen as an Ogre Magi. So he doesn't mind if he takes losing trades against 2 heroes. But Monkey King, you really need to get to 4 hits before you can then regen off the 4 Jingu Mastery stacks you just got off of that. So be a little careful with your trades unless you know you can get 4 hits, but you're still okay to poke a little bit, so don't be too scared. I should mention we are still talking about position 4 Monkey King here, even though he's in the safe lane here. Pro teams have been swapping him to wherever he has the best matchup, because if he has a dominant matchup, he is really good. So they decided he would have a better time as the position 5 here, and so they put him down here. But he's still going to be the position 4 later on in the game. Now what you just saw there is that he took his Q level 2. He can use it to secure range creeps, but I also think it's really good to take when he's confident he can get to 4 Jingu Mastery stacks, or if the enemy has some kind of escape ability, kind of like Phoenix Dive or Mars spearing him away. That would make the slow from Tree Dance not as useful, because they just have this ability to then escape. So at level 2, there's a lot of variation. By level 3, you're pretty much always going to have 1 point in each of your spells. Ideally, you start with Jingu Mastery, you take Boundless Strike if you think you can get a lot of hits, or if the enemy has escapes. If they don't have any form of escape, and maybe you want to be a little more mobile, then Tree Dance level 2 is also very common. And to be honest, guys, I'm not 100% sure which case you want one or the other. I think that's something that I still need experience with, so I'm going to leave that open to you guys. But play by feel. Now, some lanes are not going to be as ideal for you. And if this is the case, you're probably going to start with Tree Dance level 1. You can see he tried to use it to secure range creeps. That's something you can do with it as well. But you can also jump around, drag creep waves very safely, contest pulls, things like that, because of the mobility and safety that Tree Dance gives you. Now, you do have to be a little careful. As you hop around on trees, if your tree gets cut, you will be stunned for 4 seconds. And if that happens, you're probably going to die or just take a really bad trade. If your lane is bad, you'll probably block camps, either with your body through Tree Dance, maybe a sentry. You can see Yapzor's attempting both here, and he's going to die because he's got his tree cut, which is very unfortunate. You do have to be careful of that. Even though your lane may not be the best, you can use the slow from your Tree Dance and the Orb of Venom to just poke where you can. The goal here is to kind of just absorb what you can. Here you can see the benefits of Monkey King. You can easily deward most of the cliffs in the game, and you don't mind taking trades like this. Even though you don't have Jingu Mastery, like I mentioned earlier, he still has pretty solid stats, pretty good move speed, and so he can take a decent trade, even with someone like Bane, who is known to be a very good laner, Bloodseeker even rotated, he still ends up fine. And you kind of see what you're going to do in these rough matchups. You're just going to kind of watch. You're going to absorb XP, because even though level 1 you may not be able to zone them, you do become a very powerful hero around level 2, level 3. And in the meantime, you'll just poke around with your abilities, try to secure some last hits here and there, contest pulls very safely, just absorbing whatever XP you can in bad matchups. And once you have at least Tree Dance and Boundless Strike, so level 2 minimum, maybe level 3, you can start roaming around the map very efficiently, even without boots, because you're such a fast hero with Tree Dance. So you can place wards like you just saw Yapzor doing, or you can scout out ganks like this. And it's really good if you have an active hero. In this case, we even have a Nature's Prophet who's going to TP in. You provide vision through trees, and then you can leap in or stun them. Probably both, ideally, because you're helping to gank. But that fast mobility allows you to still contribute, even from a really bad laning stage. And if you had a good laning stage, you're still going to look to do this stuff. You're looking to rotate around, find gank targets, and get the active heroes involved to get these kills. No one can see you coming because you're in the trees, and unless they have flying vision, they can't see that. Now, if you can find the time to do so, going for runes is great on Monkey King. As you can see, you're not limited by the terrain around the map because you can just hop through trees. You can even use Primal Spring if you have to travel even further, so you can steal bounty runes or power runes. And while you're going for runes, you can help get easy kills on various heroes, probably in the mid lane, ideally on the mid lane hero, but maybe some supports you find along the way as well. Ganks are pretty easy for you. You get to decide how you want to initiate, whether you leap in, maybe you stun first. Kind of depends on the situation. In this case, you see he can leap in first. Whichever, whatever. Use your abilities how you see fit. It's kind of hard to describe all the situations you might run into. After the laning stage, there's two main things you're going to look to do. You're going to either split push the side lanes using Primal Spring to wave clear, or you're going to scout for the enemy heroes to find kills, and probably a mix of both. Now here, the support Monkey King is killing the carry Magnus on his own with a little help from Lycan creeps, whatever. And look how many enemy heroes he drew as a reaction. And they're not even going to find the Monkey King, because as long as he's in trees, they don't know where he is. Not a lot of other supports can do that kind of thing. Now, even after revealing himself here, because Phoenix was going to break that tree by chance, a quick leap away, back in the trees, the enemy team still will have a hard time hunting him down. So, you can create a lot of space as Monkey King. Whether you find kills or not, it's not so easy to get solo kills. Be careful of this, though. As you leap between trees, sometimes the creeps will notice you. So be a little careful how you move like that. And that is going to lead to him dying. And you'll see how, again, they're rotating a bunch of heroes here because this Monkey King is being really annoying. So even though he died, he's still making space. And we love to say that in our pub games, but it's true. If you're split pushing effectively as Monkey King, causing a lot of heroes to try to look for you, usually escaping, but occasionally dying, it might still be fine for your team because there's a bunch of space now, and hopefully the team is getting towers or at least getting farmed. So Monkey King has a lot of this split push potential that many others don't, because usually if you split push as a support, you die, but Monkey King can run into trees, similar to a Treant Protector, and in that way you can make more time, kind of like an anti-mage, where you're hiding so much, they want to kill you, they know you're there, but they don't know where, and you're just building up so much extra time for your team to do things on the other half of the map. The other thing I mentioned is how you can safely split push. It is really difficult for heroes to dive Monkey King if they don't have a way to break trees. And even if they do dive Monkey King, they might find themselves stunned and then into a Wukong's command under tower. So it's very risky for the enemy team to do so. They'll probably leave you alone. So you can defend waves, maybe with Boundless Strike or Tree Dance. If you have points in Tree Dance, just use Tree Dance to push out waves. If you use both your abilities, you're going to burn through all your mana. In this case, Jabs has gone for more points in Boundless Strike, so he kind of does have to use a bit more. But many people have been maxing Tree Dance first, so that way they only have to use Tree Dance, and they don't even have to get that many clarities. You'll notice what he's doing. He's just using one ability on the wave, auto-attacking a little bit, and then scouting out on the map, jumping right back into the trees once all the creeps are dead. If he dies, whatever, not a huge deal because he's just a support. But by jumping through trees, see, he can scout out things like, oh, here's a tiny, here's a risk to me, I'm just going to go back a bit, jump into the trees, and look around on the minimap, pick out my items, things like that. A lot of supports don't have that option. And while you're split pushing, you might also scout out where the enemy is. for your team to then rotate in. And you provide vision following heroes around like so to hopefully get the jump. In this case, the Queen of Pain gets away, but you get the idea. You thought she got out, she thought she got out, but no, Monkey King's insane mobility as a support allows him to continue to chase even extremely mobile enemy heroes like a Queen of Pain with the haste rune, and so enemies have to respect Monkey King when he isn't showing on the map and when he is showing on the map. Because if you don't know where he is, he could be ganking you anywhere. And if he's not showing, maybe he showed bottom, he doesn't show for a little bit, he could be mid, he could be top already. Maybe he TP'd as well. He's so fast. If he is showing, you gotta respect where he is because, you know, he's a scary hero. When your team goes for smoke ganks, you can be the guy leading the way as you jump on trees to kind of scout the way a little bit safely. You can be scouted as you go between trees, and you do need to be careful if they have high ground vision, but in general, it's still safer than most other heroes. And if you think no one's there, you can start to take aggressive positions while your team pushes towers to scout teleports. So for example here, Jabs wants to get this tower. By jumping up here, he reveals that Tiny's there. They think about going on it, decide not to. And by being on the tree, he reveals that Queen of Pain's teleporting in. He scouts out this, this Venomancer's from, actually no, he did see that Venomancer from the daytime vision. And then he's just gonna get away. It's hard to get the Monkey King. Be careful if they have abilities that can break trees, but most heroes do not have that ability, and so you can very safely provide this kind of vision for your team. One of the greatest things he provides is vision from jumping around, and you can notice he sees into Roche Pit when he stands on the trees around it. This is invaluable as a support. Not everyone can check Roshan, but he can, and he's particularly dangerous around it with all of his abilities, even allowing him to go for steals, such as this one, where he steals the Aegis at a critical point in the game. Ultimately, he does end up dying, so maybe this isn't the greatest clip in the world. His team doesn't like turn and miraculously wipe them all, but this is a great play you can make, and if your team is a little closer, or maybe even ahead, then this can be the game-winning fight when you provide vision in Roshan. Next, let's get into itemization and skill build, and this is where I need to bring us back into reality and let you know that he is not an easy support hero to play. He's very unique, very fun, but very complicated. Not just the hero with a bunch of unique mechanics on his own, but then because he has so much freedom of what he's going to do and build in the game, you kind of need to figure that out for yourself, understanding how this game is going and how can I best contribute to it, and that's going to determine your items and skill build. So, if you're a brand new player, I don't really recommend you try Monkey King support. I think it's pretty tough. But if you're looking for a challenge and a really fun hero to play, you've played the game a little bit, then we can get into Monkey King. So with that out of the way, starting items, we talked about earlier, tangos, oov, fill out the rest with what you think you need. Don't shy away from building more regen in the laning stage if you need to. If you're too low, you'll simply die before you get enough Jingu hits off. And, you know, then the Jingu hits do nothing. So make sure you buy enough regen, especially if the lane is a rough one. If it's a good one, and you get a lot of Jingu hits, then you're probably okay. But rough lanes, buy enough regen. Are you always going to build an Orb of Corrosion? No. Mainly if it's a good game for it. But I saw it sometimes when it wasn't such a good game for it. And in that case, I think it's more about what you're enabling to the team. It's a very nice item for the hero itself. So I think it is like a good early fighting game item. And if you think that's what you're going to go for rather than split pushing, then I can see Orb of Corrosion being pretty good. Wand in general, very safe item to build. At least a magic stick to sustain your abilities. Plus, you're going to be part of a lot of like ganks and fights, and that means a lot of spells are going to get used. So you'll get a lot of value out of a magic stick or wand. Boots, skippable. Because you jump around with the tree dance, you don't have to get boots. I'd say about 50% of the players buy boots, 50% skip. I think if you really need to rush an item, then skipping boots makes sense. Most people leave it at brown boots even if they do buy boots. I saw one player get phase boots because it looked like a game where he needed armor and some move speed, so I could kind of understand that. But most of the time, people are skipping them or just leaving it at brown boots. And from there, we have a ton of options. I've seen Mage Slayers, Orchids, Atos, Solar Crest. I won't list all the items here, but those are a lot of the next items that people get. Echo Saber and Lotus Orb as well, Solar Crest, things like that. After that, Basher, BKB, those are decent items, especially the BKB, because once you ult, you get armor. Then the spell immunity from BKB, you're very hard to kill, even as a support. But usually that's like a second item. Like the first item, it kind of depends. Like if you need kills, like Orchid and Atos are useful. If you're trying to like survive a bit more. The Mage Slayer is really nice. Don't forget it gets applied by your ultimate, so it kind of increases your team fight potential, especially if the enemy has a lot of magic damage, or even if there's just one hero you really need to control a bit, you can stun that hero and apply the Mage Slayer, or you can ult so that if the like Storm Spirit, the Leshrac walk in, they're gonna get reduced damage as they get hit. Sometimes you're enabling your allies more, then you'll get items like that. If you need to carry more, then you might go for like Orchid, Diffusal, the BKBs, things like that. Scotty was a popular late game choice. I'm talking like third or fourth item. I think it makes you very tanky, and the passive is extremely useful to apply at that state of the game because it does pierce BKB and your ult applies it. So Scotty's a popular late game option, but really there was a ton of different choices here, guys. So it's really hard for me to say, like, this is what you're going to do every time, because there was not anything like that. Everyone was building different things. The skill build, not so different. So Jingu Mastery, if it's a good Jingu game for the level 1, maybe you'll get a second point at it level 3 if it's a really good lane for it. Most of the time, I see it left at 1 value point. Tree Dance level 2 is what I've been doing. I think this has a lot of flexibility. I get pinged every time for it, but it ends up fine. But I think Boundless Strike level 2 makes sense if the enemies have escapes and things like that. Usually by level 3, you'll have 1 point in each, and then after that, I recommend maxing Tree Dance as the safest option if you're not sure what to do, because this lets you split push safely, but also contribute a bunch of slow and damage to ganks. If you need a lot of crowd control for mobile heroes, you can max your stun. It's not the greatest, but it is more stun duration. So either way, you're going to max these two first, leaving Jingu off for last. Wukongs you typically take at every level, but some people do skip it for a little bit if they feel like they need more Tree Dance and Boundless Strike points early. For your talent, it's going to depend if you think you need to provide more vision or crowd control. So if you need more stuns, then you're obviously going to take the stun duration. But a lot of what you offer as a Monkey King support is this vision. So the Tree Dance and the hopping around are very nice talents to pair together. Some people take the Jingu Mastery damage when it's a very good Jingu game. They get a lot of hits off, and they're surviving, so they're going to contribute more damage. But it's not so common. But if you're looking to carry, then maybe this is the item for you. Though I do feel that the extra vision and mobility also help you split push a lot, which helps you farm, which gets you to the point of carrying. So don't just auto take this. I do think like you can still carry with these other talents. I do think the Boundless Strike cooldown is probably the best talent no matter what. It's a 20-second ability going down to 13, and if you took the stun duration especially, it's now roughly a 2-second stun, and like that's pretty good to have on a low cooldown. And then the additional Wukong's command ring is also pretty standard. It's just a much stronger zoning tool and team fight ability. I don't really think you need the split push from this at like as a support at that point of the game, but maybe if you do, then that's when you would take it. So some miscellaneous tips and tricks to round out this video. Mischief can be used to dodge damage for 0.2 seconds. There's no real cost to this ability. There's a cooldown, but it's pretty low. So go ahead and try this all the time. If you mess it up, you're just going to take damage like you were going to, but if you succeed, you'll dodge damage like you saw me do there. You'll still be hit by the spell. You saw I was stunned, but I didn't take any damage. So lots of possible benefit. Not too much of a downside. Like you won't have the ability to try dodging something else, but like whatever, you know, especially as you're getting used to the hero, just dodge random stuff like auto attacks, things like that, tower shots while you're diving, give it a go. It's pretty useful. Many of you probably know this one, but when you get to your 4 Jingu Mastery hits, it is applied to Boundless Strike. So try to line up creeps and heroes when using it to get a bigger heal, because you'll crit and heal off of everything you hit, and it'll only take up 1 Jingu token, whatever, and then you can use the remaining 3 to like poke. And while you have it, you'll notice you don't build up new charges. It's only after you lose all 4 that you can start building up new ones if you're not killing the computers. The Tree Dance damage and slow channels over time. It can be canceled right away, but that will reduce the damage and slow. Sometimes that's fine, like, you know, if they're gonna walk out of the circle, you gotta cancel it. You can either press S for stop or whatever you have stop bound to, or press whatever you have it bound to, like E again. Either one will cancel the ability and you'll use it right away. You can also use this to travel extremely far very quickly. So for example, here's how far you can jump to trees. So you could jump, cast this right away, and then jump to the next tree. And in just a moment, I went from over here all the way over here. This is why Monkey King has such insane mobility as a support and why you can skip boots. The optimal damage on your ultimate is in the center. That's where 5 of your soldiers will hit the single unit. If you're going for solo pickoffs, that's what you want to try to do. You want to ult like right in the middle of them and then stun. That's very hard to do in practice. It's easiest if you come out of invis or something, which, by the way, I guess I should mention that. You can channel your ult out of invis, so like while a hero's farming a camp or something, you can try to channel right on top of them and then stun them right outside of it, so they get hit by all 5 of your clones. Well, I missed one there. It's kind of hard to like get the exact center, but that is what you're going for if you want to maximize damage. In practice, it's a lot harder to do that, and honestly, as long as you get the ult off, it's going to add a lot of damage, so they're going to move out of the center as well once your stun ends, so unless you have teammates to follow up, like, it's not that important, but that is where you get the most damage. Towers, okay, well actually, if you walk into a tower and then try to use Mischief, it's going to break Mischief and it's going to keep hitting you. However, if you use Mischief to walk through a tower, you actually aren't spotted by the tower. Creeps also ignore you. So you're actually free to just move around. Let me show you. The creeps, where are they? Here they are. The creeps will ignore you as well. So when you're already in Mischief, you can go through a lot of enemy heroes like that. And on the minimap, you'll notice actually there's an enemy Monkey King here. It doesn't really show on the minimap. So that's how you can walk past towers using this trick. That last tip is how you may have seen in pub games. Monkey King will start at the very beginning of the game, rush to the enemy side of the base, and kill couriers by sneaking past the towers and waiting at the fountain for any couriers outside the fountain or after people buy items with the starting gold from the bounty runes. You can try it if you want. I personally prefer to be in the lanes and not have to TP there. Plus, this only works if people put their couriers outside the base as a efficiency thing, which, let's be honest, I don't know how often that's happening in your pub games. So it's up to you. It is kind of funny when it works, but you don't have to do it. Other last thing, Skull Basher does not work on your ultimate anymore. If you're an old school player returning because of the TI hype, Monkey King used to be a support because of Skull Basher, and that was the build. It doesn't work anymore. You might still buy it on yourself if you're like transitioning to a core and you need a Skull Basher, that's fine. It's just not for your ultimate, so don't make that mistake. And that's it. I've covered everything that you really need to know to get started. Maybe watch a couple pro games from their perspective to get the full idea. If you think I've missed anything critical, leave a comment, fix my mistakes, please and thank you. But give it a shot if you'd like. It's a lot of fun. Position 4 Monkey King, I think, is his preferred location. Position 5 probably works. It's a pub game, whatever. Give it a shot if you want. This will be nerfed. I am confident it will be nerfed. It is nearly 100% pick banned. First phase at TI right now. If you'd like to know more about that, keep an eye out for a video that'll come out after this. But it's going to get nerfed after this, so play it while you can. Thanks, guys. See ya.